where we just chat about anything. So you're welcome to stay for that, or you can just go and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so
Thank you.
So we come up with everybody, and Jared says, "Good morning," blah blah blah, blah. And then today on news we have, and then I have a covering shot so that you can read your thing.
Awesome.
And then I get mine. Thank you.
All right. Hello, Internet.
Wait, have you done some yet, Dennis?
Okay, everybody. From here on out, everything you say is live to the world.
4 minutes out.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay.
How do I...
This is kind of cool. I can actually kind of hear out of my right ear a little
Whoa,
bit.
whoa, whoa.
So
Can you hear me? Am I being heard?
That's always good.
Which mic? do you-
Can't hear you yet, Jade.
I have guests.
Who has carry hands? Nobody. Speak phone.
Hi. Oh, I can hear. Oh, thanks. She has a voice.
welcome. Welcome. This is bubbling up at me a lot.
Maybe you shouldn't do that in public.
Let's put that bourbon down.
Uh-oh. I feel like I'm going in and out.
Uh-oh. Today's going to be a fun show, huh?
Oh yes, it's going to be one of those shows.
Just kidding.
So
Just kidding.
No, I was getting my mute group set up.
Let's see here.
Everybody's got a thing.
La la la. La di da di da.
Space. Talk about stuff. Talk
Ah.
about microphones.
2 minutes out.
Am I supposed to have... Oh. We'll have hosts.
What's up?
We'll have
Yourself.
You don't have hosts?
uh-oh.
Yeah, wait, let's do it.
I mean, that's fine.
Who doesn't have hosts?
I know,
Jade.
but I feel like...
Are you logged into the chat room?
Gotcha.
We'll look.
Amazing.
Probably not.
Oh, that was really cute.
Okay, so click right up here in the little 3 lines. Hit log in.
Oh,
Okay,
she said
use
she
that
didn't
there.
think she set the host.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Jared, and, sorry, Mike and Jade, do you have
It uses
media
Nick if
in
you
the
can.
cold open section?
What's up?
Do you have media
I
in the
do.
cold open section?
Looks like we both...
I could be
Yes,
okay with that.
everybody does.
Awesome. Awesome.
So we're looking competently good today, which is unusual.
Go team.
I'm gonna have Colton push her to.
We got media and meteor.
Is Colton in the room?
He said he was going to get here early, but had to leave.
Yay, thank you. Gosh, that was cool. Didn't know you can accomplish so much with the slash. Wow, I'm really happy with that. Go, 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 go.
2 minutes.
I can hold my breath. 2
Are
minutes.
we live?
We are
recording?
live. We are recording.
Okay.
Crash record. All right, I've got the script up and we're ready to go. I probably shouldn't say my name is Carrie Ann.
I think you should.
Uh,
Jerry Ann.
what are you? Should I call you a resident scientist? What do you,
Oh,
what
I
do you
feel
want
like
to be called?
that's too much authority. That's too.
What should I call you?
You should call me the what do you call it when someone comes from somewhere?
Mission specialist.
No, that's too much. That's too special.
Too special?
Yeah. Or instead of normalist? No.
Jade, our resident normalist?
Our resident weirdy.
Oh, I like that.
Normie.
Our resident non-normie.
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 Once the show gets off the ground, I have to head over to X. All right.
One might say weirdy.
Our weirdo in
Weirdo.
our
and
weirdo in the studio.
She kind of just wandered in here.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
Actually,
She wandered in and started speaking science when we decided to let her stay.
Aw, thanks.
Like a cat that comes into your backyard.
Wait, so if I want to look, oh, wait, well, I'm gonna look at him. But
Yeah.
what if I want to really look? He's looking at me. Hi. Aww. This is nice.
Mike is so good at selling it. You're excellent at this.
I know.
Mike.
It's like I just want to hug you, but you'd be very flat and cold.
High five? Oh, I can do a high five at least.
Oh, we're trying to high five.
Yeah, go for it. Sorry, excuse
You
me.
have a big hand. Oh my God, that's a.
Mike's got big hands. So,
All flight controllers, moving to 1.1 in the program.
We are going to adjust this just a tiny.
everyone.
Hold.
And we're holding right out of the gate.
My bad.
Get your audio.
Jade did her part. I didn't do mine.
What are those mute groups called again?
No. I had to reload the rundown because Jade, I didn't get Jade's image.
Gotcha.
Oh, sorry.
This is why
No,
you watch live.
You did your part. I didn't
So-
do mine. All right, here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the conversation. We're so glad to have you here today. My name is Jared Head. I'm going to be your host for today's Tomorrow Space episode. And next to me, I have our resident non-normie, Jade. How's it going, Jade?
Hi.
Pretty good?
Hello.
And of course, to my other side over here, I have our rocket specialist, Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Pretty good. How you doing today?
Pretty good. And then behind us, producing the show, is Dada. Right there, who I'm not going to say anything to because he doesn't speak, and a photobombing Lisa in the background as well. Now, today in the news,
We have microbes that could survive on Enceladus.
And international interest in the lunar gateway is growing.
and we've got Lisa right there doing the interview with Niamh Shaw, talking a little bit about arts and humanities in space. And of course, we take a look at your comments and questions from last week's show. So stay tuned. This is Tomorrow, Orbit 11.11.
Good morning. How's everything up in the sky?
And, of course, right out at the top of the show, we want to thank our Escape Velocity citizens. These folks give us $10 per episode on Patreon or $30 a month or more on makersupport.com. And they get a lot of good stuff. Like, you can actually get access to the rundowns that we look at and, you know, see all the jokes that Jade has written down for all of our episodes that we've got right here. So if you'd like to help crowdfund the shows of tomorrow, you can head on over to patreon.com/TMRO or makersupport.com/TMRO, and every little bit helps. Without you guys, we can't do this show, and that's why we're ever thankful for you and your support. So
much.
let's go ahead and get this started. We're going to throw it over to Mike, because Mike, you got one launch to talk about this week, and it just happened, and we're gonna get this going. So Mike, go ahead and tell us about this launch that just now happened.
Yeah, we weren't expecting any launches this week, but just as you said, there was a launch early this morning from China, in fact. And unfortunately, with this particular mission, it's another one of their land surveys, so there's not a whole lot of media for it. However, the launch did take place at 7:10 Coordinated Universal Time earlier this morning, and it was a Long March 2D rocket launching from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. Now, the payload for it was the fourth satellite in the Ludikancha Weijing series, also known as land surveying satellites, otherwise known as LKW number 4. And the footage that you're seeing is actually from the launch of LKW number 1. And as per usual for the Chinese media, this spacecraft is once again classed as a new remote sensing satellite that's going to be used for remote sensing exploration of land resources here on Earth. However, it's very much suspected to be a military purpose satellite. The previous satellites of the series were the LKW-1, which was launched on December 2nd of 2017, LKW-2, which was launched on December 23rd 3rd of 2017, and LKW-3, which launched on January 13th of this year. All of those satellites were launched by a Long March 2D rocket and launched from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. So, surprise launch this morning. We, as always, finally have a launch to talk about every week, so I'm actually kind of happy about that.
Yeah, thanks, China. And, we'll eventually get some footage of that on Twitter from somebody's cell phone in vertical video, of course, because that's the way it goes. But there you go, your one launch. So I guess our streak is still continuing this year with launches. Every episode, have we had? I don't think we've had an episode without a launch so far this year. So
I don't think so. Not yet this year. So.
Yeah, China coming in just a few hours before with it there. Now, we're going to switch gears, and we're going to go out to the outer solar system to a cold, far away, hit the clutch as hard as you can. Dada can help you with that. Now, we've got microbes, and they can survive on places that we weren't expecting microbes to survive. Am I reading this correct?
That is correct, Senor Cabeza.
On enchiladas, Enceladus. I'm sorry. So tell us a little bit about this, Jade.
So scientists have recently discovered a microbe that could mimic life potentially existing on Enceladus as we speak. Recent findings in the journal Nature report that a certain type of microbe called Methonomercoccus okinawensis, yes, I practiced that, has been found to survive the intense conditions of Saturn's icy moon Enceladus. This microbe, known as an archaeon, is an extremophile native to the deep sea hydrothermal vents in the Okinawa Trough of Japan. And of course, extremophiles are organisms whom have adapted and thrive in extreme environments, like our favorite friend, the tardigrades. So
the water
cute.
bear, the moss piglet, the cutest thing ever.
Enceladus has been one of the more popular candidates for life in our solar system's backyard, especially after NASA's Cassini mission detected methane in the water geysers that shoot from its surface. And this methane could possibly be of biological origin, according to Dr. Simon Rittman, one of the study's authors. So, similar to Jupiter's moon Europa, Enceladus is enclosed in an icy outer shell with a subsurface salty liquid ocean underneath. Scientists believe that there may be hydrothermal vents on Enceladus's ocean floor, similar to ones we have here on Earth, that could supply potential life forms with food and energy through a process called chemosynthesis, or the consumption of chemicals emanating from the ocean's floor. Tasty.
Delicious.
Yummy. The study, led by researchers from the University of Vienna, took 3 different types of microbes and subjected them to the intense pressures and extreme temperatures that organisms would have to endure on Enceladus. Poor things. M. Oki, as I'm going to call it, was the sole survivor, and not only that, but it also ended up producing methane. These are all good signs for finding life on Enceladus or other icy bodies beyond Earth, but again, much more research needs to be done before any conclusions are made, and it's important to note that conditions in the lab obviously may not fully mirror the actual environment of Enceladus. Plus, a future mission to Enceladus would actually have to have a much more advanced mass spectrometer than the one we sent out on Cassini if we're looking to detect some more potential biosignatures. And I'll just end that with, you know what, if there is life on Enceladus, we would have to take extra caution to avoid any potential contamination, as to avoid false readings or worse, threats to an already pre-existing ecosystem. Because what a bummer would that be if we go and it's like, oh my gosh, there's a beautiful ecosystem here. Oh my gosh, we accidentally completely ruined it with germs from Earth. Wow.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why Cassini was disposed of the way it was in late 2017 was because
rest in peace.
Rest in peace Cassini. We'll never forget you. But it was disposed of the specific way it was in the Saturn's atmosphere because of the fact that Cassini was not built to the specifications of cleanliness like Mars missions are, because we didn't know that there were all these habitable places out in the Saturnian system at the time when Cassini was designed and built in the 90s and then launched in 1997. So that was probably one of the biggest surprises and one of the best discoveries that Cassini did, which is that these icy worlds that seem to have oceans underneath their surfaces actually could be potential harbingers of life. And the cool thing about our solar system is that there are a ton of these icy worlds, and there are quite a few of them that likely have oceans underneath that ice. So it turns out exposed oceans like what you have here on Earth are the rarity, not oceans underneath ice being the rarity. So we're actually really weird here on Earth because we can access our oceans pretty easy.
One reason we're weird.
So amongst a multitude with our non-normie Jade. Now, We're going to move back to Earth because there is some politics that's happening at the moment with NASA, which for those of you who say, get politics out of my space flight, you should probably find out why space flight was started in the first place. So we're going to head on over to Mike, and you're going to tell us a little bit about a retirement and a stalling happening at NASA currently.
Yeah, and with this, NASA could be leaderless for a little while. What we're talking about is right now the current acting administrator of NASA is Robert Lightfoot, and he has announced that he is retiring from the position he's retiring from NASA, period, but especially from the position of acting administrator. He's a rocket propulsion engineer and a civil servant who has led the administration since the beginning of the Trump administration. He took office in January 20th of 2017. And even though he's a 29-year veteran of the space agency and has served, done a phenomenal job, in my opinion, ever since Charlie Bolden left the job at the end of the Obama administration, all of this comes as a little bit of surprise because President Trump's nomination to become NASA administrator, Representative Jim Bridenstine from Oklahoma, even though he was advanced through the Senate Commerce Committee, they have not been able to continue the vote, and they've not been able to push through his nomination to take office. And the White House resubmitted Bridenstine's nomination in January of this year, but the full Senate meeting has again yet to vote on his confirmation. And SpaceNews.com reported on Monday that there is a pretty widespread belief in the space industry that the Senate has not voted on Bridenstine because he lacks enough support for confirmation. All of the House Democrats are expected to vote against him, and there's at least 2 senators that are on the Republican side that are planning on voting against him, as well as John McCain, who isn't even in the Senate right now and can't vote for this because he's being treated for cancer right now. So he's just not going to get enough votes as it stands right now in order to be pushed through. And with Bridenstine's nomination in limbo, Lightfoot has held the acting administrator post for almost 14 months, which is longer than anyone else in NASA history. However, meanwhile, the Trump administration's nomination for NASA's chief financial officer, whose name is Jeffrey DeWitt, he's the Arizona State Treasurer, he was confirmed on March 14th by the U.S. Senate for the position of the chief financial officer of NASA. And he's expected to resign as Arizona State Treasurer and start work at NASA in the next few weeks. So I had to throw that in there because he's a local guy that I know. So I think that's really cool. But it's also a bit concerning, though. Something that I did want to mention is that Robert Lightfoot said that even though he's going to be stepping down at the end of April, he's very confident that NASA is going to be able to continue on without any firm leadership in place, and that all of the different procedures and pretty much the way that NASA's been operating since last year is going to continue on until this can get sorted out. But since all this is going on, and even though I don't have any civil servant experience, I would like to throw in my candidacy for that. So, yeah.
I think you'd be a great administrator.
Mike for NASA administrator. Let's make it happen.
You got 2 votes right here.
Yeah, exactly. You got 2, so you need, how many do you need? 51, I think?
1, 2,
yeah,
3,
51.
4, 5.
Call
okay.
up your
got 5 here at least.
Representatives, call up your senators, let them know that there's a wild card out there.
Okay, we definitely will. Wild cards are always one of my favorite things to throw out there. So you've got 5 votes here. We just need to get 46 more from the Senate, I suppose,
Make it happen.
in order to get to it. So yeah, just I guess continuing the theme of things with it there, and I hope that they can figure out something. And Lightfoot said that it's going to continue. It's still going to work the way it is, even if he's not there and there's no technical administrator leading things. So I'm not too concerned about it, but it definitely is. It would be the first time in NASA's history that they technically don't have a leader in a leadership position. So we'll have to see how that works. American government is kind of interesting, since I know we have a very big international audience. If you ever want to, find yourself a textbook and you can get just as confused as we are. So we're going to throw it back to Jade, because you got, I mean, it is a month after Valentine's Day.
I got some juicy news.
You do have some juicy news.
Yeah.
About was it SO-2?
Yeah, S2.
Or
as
S2,
it's commonly
excuse me.
abbreviated. So S2, which is a star near Sagittarius A, is single and ready to mingle with our supermassive black hole, that is. Astronomers have been waiting for the green light to use this young hot star, which is 15 times more massive than our own sun, as a subject for an exciting test of Einstein's theory of general relativity. Until recently, S2 was thought to be orbiting another star in a binary system, which would have made the upcoming gravity test a lot more complicated. However, astronomers led by Devin Xu of UCLA, known as the Galactic Center Group, discovered using the Keck Observatory on Mauna Kea that S2 is indeed flying solo, or at least if it does have a partner, it would be insignificant to the measurements. And they figured this out by analyzing the light spectra of several stars and screening for any deviations a companion star might have on S2's light, of which there were none. So you might be asking, well, why are we even testing Einstein's theory of general relativity? I thought it's been proven over and over again. Well, kind of. The gravity test is going to measure a key component of the theory, which predicts that light emanating from a strong gravitational field will get redshifted, aka stretched out. S2 makes its closest approach to Sagittarius A in the spring, allowing researchers to directly measure its redshift as it undergoes maximum gravitational pull from our supermassive black hole. I just really like saying that. Because gravity will be strongest at this point, any discrepancies at all between theory and observation will become most apparent here. And gravity, of course, being the least tested of the four fundamental forces of nature, will be measured in an unprecedented rendezvous between a black hole and a very proximate star right by it. And of course, they're also going to use this data to study other stars in S2's neighborhood, because it's actually a little bit unusual that stars of this caliber are able to form and kind of just orbit in this very hostile environment. So a lot of amazing data is going to come out of it. So I'd like to congratulate the Galactic Center Group and, of course, Devin Xu. This is awesome, and we will look forward to those results when they do those observations.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. UCLA here in the Los Angeles area has kind of been a hotbed of activity for black holes for the past 2 decades. So it's been amazing watching the work come out, especially what they're doing with Keck up in Hawaii. And I'm super excited for that data to come out, especially because every time we've tested theories of relativity, they've worked exactly as predicted. There has literally never been a test in the near century of its existence that tells us that it doesn't actually work.
Bonkers.
Yeah,
it's
that
so
doesn't.
Cool.
That's like, and you know, this was coming from the mind of Einstein. You know, he didn't have computers at that
right?
time.
They didn't even have Nintendo back then. Like,
yeah,
and he's able to figure that out about the center of our. I mean, come on.
That's what's so amazing about it to me, is that it's been around for over a century and it's never been disproven. Every time we've tested it, it's like, bam, right within 5 sigma of where we need it at. Ridiculous kind of stuff. And I'm going to go back over to you, Mike, because you actually are going to talk about something that I know you're super passionate about, and you're super excited about. And I actually read an article on NASA Spaceflight this week about it, and I'm now super excited about it because of what's happening here. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about a gateway around the moon.
That's right. There is a lot of growing interest for the what was the Deep Space Gateway, but is now being called the Lunar Orbiting Outpost Gateway. So I don't like that new name for it.
I don't care for it either.
There's a lot of there's a lot of interest that NASA especially has noticed, and Bill Gerstenmaier, he was at a conference in Tokyo earlier this month, the Second International Space Exploration Forum, which I'm going to call ISEF2. And while he was there, by the way, Bill Gerstenmaier, he's the Associate Administrator for Human Exploration and Operations, he said that both the International Space Station partners and a bunch of emerging space nations showed interest in cooperating with NASA on plans for the Exploration Gateway. At the whole forum at ISEF2, it was held on March 3rd in Tokyo, as I said, and leaders of space agencies around the world attended to discuss not only their current plans, but future space exploration plans, and to form new collaborations to explore together. And countries are really interested in cooperating on NASA's lunar exploration plans in a variety of ways. It's all centered around the development of the Lunar Orbiting Platform, which I'm just going to call the Gateway from now on. And it's a facility in cislunar space. It's going to be having a kind of a weird orbit around the moon, but that's going to enable a lot of different things. There's a lot of a series of lander missions that would culminate in human missions to the lunar surface in the late 2020s. And before that, there's going to be several commercial missions before that. But at this particular conference, there was many ongoing projects that were discussed at the ISEF2, including Earth observation and the International Space Station, and how ongoing efforts can be complicated by many, or excuse me, not complicated, but rather complemented, although I guess it's complicating it too, how different efforts could be added onto by a lot of these new emerging space agencies, such as Poland, Luxembourg, and the United Arab Emirates. One of the areas of cooperation for the future Gateway, though, which all these ongoing projects are leading up to, is the development of life support systems. And especially there was interest from the European Space Agency and the Japanese Space Agency, JAXA. Both agencies have expressed interest in supporting not just developing life support systems, but supporting the communications and enhancing the power and propulsion element, or the service module of the Gateway, which is the gold element on the left there. And in addition to this, there's a whole bunch of different missions and technologies which countries can cooperate with NASA on. And the agency is working to develop standards for deep space technologies. NASA announced on March 5th, just a couple days after this, a draft of interoperability standards that the agency and ISS partners have already and will continue to develop in areas such as avionics, communications, environmental control, and life support systems, power systems, rendezvous in operations, as well as the robotic and thermal systems that would all be needed in order to make this type of habitat feasible. And another area of interest is, of course, developing lunar lander capabilities. NASA's plans in the near term is to partner with commercial companies to send small commercial landers and ultimately develop larger landers. But there's a few details about how NASA is going to be doing that. There's a couple of small business awards that they've been giving out to companies like Astrobotic, and even some expressed interest in Blue Origin's Blue Moon program, but nothing has quite yet materialized. And something else that Gerstenmaier said about all of these different plans is a concern that our partners are kind of worried about our shifting directions, since NASA's space exploration plans have shifted so much over the past decade. And this has led some of our partners to consider alternatives. For example, Roscosmos and the Chinese National Space Administration signed an agreement at the same conference, the ISEF-2, where they are agreeing for their intentions for cooperation in the field of lunar exploration and in deep space, and in the creation of a data center on all of their different lunar projects, which they would share publicly with the world. Now, although this agreement is specifically for robotic missions, such as the Russian orbital spacecraft Lunar Resource 1, or Luna 26, which is launching in 2022, as well as the planned Chinese mission for landing somewhere near the south pole of the moon in 2023. This agreement, though, follows on to past agreements that have been set up to have joint ground stations, joint orbital debris tracking, technology transfers, and a whole lot more. All of this could lead both countries to realizing they're separate, but both of them have ambitions to have human lunar landings, and they might do that together with or without NASA. Something else that I found was really interesting at the ISEF-2 conference was the ESA's director, Johann Dietrich Warner, and JAXA's president, Noiki Okamura, signed a joint statement detailing their agency's partnership and future collaboration. Both Japan and Europe have a shared vision for space exploration and intend to work even closer on preparing their separate explorations of the moon with all of the different missions that both have planned. So all of these things are kind of forming together in this shift that we've had recently of going back to the moon. A lot of these other countries have been having these plans for many years and sticking to them. And in a way, that was kind of to follow on our plans with the Constellation program that was canceled back in 2005. They never canceled their lunar plans and have been building towards it. So all of these things are coming together and culminating, and I'm really excited for what the future can bring. And I really want to see this outpost, the Gateway, be built. So
yeah, me too. Because I feel like LOPG could definitely be a gateway not just for lunar exploration, but enabling deep space exploration as well, both from a government standpoint and a commercial standpoint as well, because it definitely can end up being an enabler for commercial work in cislunar and deep space as well. And that to me is the most exciting part about it, is that. And also a continuous human presence in space would kind of be nice as well with that. And really, with all of these cooperation documents being signed and delivered and everything right now. It kind of reminds me of the early 90s after the fall of the Soviet Union and the beginning of Russia kind of coming into the international community and everything starting up, moving from Space Station Freedom to Space Station Alpha to eventually the International Space Station. And that's kind of what it feels like right now, is we're in that intro point where it's kind of coming in. So, yeah, hoping for
I agree.
The best for that. And of course, just want to, before we go to break, I just want to mention, of course, that the famous cosmologist Stephen Hawking did pass this week, who did an incredible amount of work in things like gravitational singularity theorems and general relativity. So it would be remiss of us to not mention that and the incredible work that he was able to do, especially with his collaborations with Roger Penrose and that work, and also the incredible work that he did popularizing science as well, bringing these incredibly complex ideas and turning them into things that people who aren't scientists can actually digest and understand when they walk away from any of the works. Pick up any of his books that he's written. They are absolutely fantastic works, and you will have an understanding of the universe that no one thought we would have ever had before he began his work. So we're going to go to a break real quick, and when we come back, we're going to have Niamh Shaw being interviewed by our one and only Lisa, who I could see in the window, actual size, right there, talking about arts and humanity in space. So stay tuned. There's more tomorrow right after this.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with some expectation, this girl's a fascination. And nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. 'Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hot, she keeps on moving, through the heat keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
And welcome back to Tomorrow. Now, before we get into our interview for today, I wanted to give a very big thank you to all of the crowdfunding supporters of Tomorrow, specifically our Escape Velocity citizens. These are the people that give us $10 per episode on Patreon or $30 per month on Maker Support. But we also have our Orbital citizens. These are the people that give us $5 per episode on Patreon or $15 per month on MakerSupport.com. They get a name in the show during the third and second segment and access to our exclusive citizen-only Hangouts, the next of which is on March 25th. So if you'd like to also help support the shows of tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO or makersupport.com/TMRO. Now today I'm really, really excited because we have an amazing guest for you all today. We have Dr. Niamh Shaw, who is a science communicator and actress from Ireland. She's also the artist in residence at Blackrock Castle Observatory, and she's been the core lecture co-lead for the International Space University's Space Studies program, and was also the Humanities Department Chair for the SSP as well. She's also done 2 theatre shows about space, one of which debuted this week, and one of which I was also able to go and see myself, and it was an incredible experience. So thank you, Niamh, for being with us today.
Lovely to be here, Lisa. Thanks a million for asking me. And of course, you couldn't have picked a better day because it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, I've got
and
the
we're live from Ireland.
Wonderful.
I know. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I wanted to dive right into the why of what you do, because you do so many cool, amazing things. So I just wanted to put it straight out there. Why do you think we need the humanities in space exploration at all?
Because I guess everything comes from people, and all research and all technology and all innovation emerges from the minds of the amazing people involved in space. So sometimes those amazing minds can get so scientific that they forget that there's a human being behind it all. And it's very important to bring as many people with us on our amazing journeys of innovation into space, So I kind of fly the flag for the general public and the people that are naturally curious but may not necessarily have that background in science to be able to keep up with that kind of information. And also, you know, where we're going, if we do become an interplanetary species, or we do set up a colony on the moon, or, you know, a research colony, for instance, it's all about people, and it's all about how people interact and how they get along. And artists and philosophers and writers and painters and sculptors, they're all skilled about seeing things from a very human point of view. And once you put a community of people together, it's very important to keep that conversation in the room. So I fly the flag for science, but really I fly the flag for the humans behind the science.
That's incredible. We've heard all these stories now about this kind of push at the moment, this popularity for putting the A into STEM to make it STEAM. So instead of science, technology, engineering, and math, putting the A for arts in there as well. Is that how you bring people along on the story? Is it combining the arts with the STEM? And are you obviously a STEAM advocate? How do we go about, you know, really promoting the A in STEAM?
Well, I think the A isn't just arts. I think it's all sorts of pursuits where we kind of analyze ourselves. So I think philosophy should be in there. I think some of the social sciences should be in there. So like that abbreviation can get very, very long. But I guess the A kind of tries to include all of that. And I think it's important because it's like what I said. I mean, people have skills in lots of different areas, and maths and science and technology is just one way of seeing a solution to something. And once anything involves the progress of our civilization, I think it's very important to always keep that humanities mindset in the room. Because don't forget, you know, in the Renaissance period, we had true innovation when philosophers and scientists and artists had those conversations together. So, and particularly when we're looking at this next frontier and these next steps in our civilization, it's very important to keep that. And that, to me, it feels very important for me to keep the general public as informed as possible, because otherwise we're going to have this massive chasm between the informed and the people that understand, you know, this dense language of science and technology, and we're going to remove a majority of the general public who have probably some very interesting ideas and may have something very interesting to contribute. But also, if we're going to do this, it's important for everybody to get on board, or for everybody to understand the importance of it, and for them not to think that it's just something that's happening remotely from themselves. Because, you know, we're all from the same planet, and we all have to take care of our planet. And every time we leave this planet, we can always learn something about taking care of this one that we're on right now.
How do you facilitate those conversations? Like, how do you bring space down to earth for everybody? How do you make it more accessible?
I try to, I always kind of start from myself. I always kind of go, right, okay, so what would that be like if I had to experience? So what I do is I will go and meet fascinating people who are doing really, you know, incredible things, or they've, you know, they're incredible thinkers, or they're part of, you know, the European Space Agency's research team, or astronauts, or whatever. But they're all involved in space in some shape or form, from the science and technology end of things. And I listen to them. And I try to kind of get a handle on how the whole thing kind of works together as a community, and try to find something that's relatable to everyday life. You know, because all of us work in groups, all of us work in teams. So if we can make that kind of relationship relatable and find what it is that they're interested in and relate it back to something that's tangible to us in the everyday, then you've piqued the interest from the general public, because everybody is curious. It's about finding the right way to explain it to them that they can understand that. So that's the first thing that I do. And then I try to find really good analogies or metaphors or similar patterns that we're more familiar with on a day-to-day basis, and sort of relate them back to that. And obviously make sure that the scientists and the technologists can see that point of view as well, because I don't think it's just one way. I think it's actually a two-way conversation. I think it's just as important for science, people involved in science, the engineering of, and all the technological disciplines of space, to listen to the humanities end of things and to keep the general public on board, because they have as much to learn as the general public have going up and going down. So it's a two-way thing. And artists and people involved in the humanities are very good conduits for keeping that level and those kind of conversations happening.
And is that kind of the work that you did as part of being the Humanities Chair for ISU? Is what kind of stuff did you teach during that period? Was it about how to keep those two-way conversations going?
Well, I'm co-chair this year on Humanities with Ruth McAvinia for the Space Studies program. So she's incredible because she's kind of got this background in journalism as well as the arts. So she brings in lots of different aspects. So I would be very much art focused. So I'm coming at it from the creative pursuit of trying to understand space. But Ruth also brings in ethics, and she brings in the bigger conversations, working together with law and policy, and encouraging people to think about communities from lots of different aspects, and space architecture as well. So we try to have as many activities as possible that reach across philosophy, the creative arts, ethics, and law and policy in that way in our humanities. And then in terms of my involvement then in core lectures, we did the same thing. We tried to bring in anthropology into the course, just to have an idea of us as as people, how we change and how we adapt to each new environment and how we can prepare best. We bring in futurists, people who are always thinking about predicting and forecasting what's coming ahead in the next 50 to 100 years, as well as architects, and then also about communicating, and then the creative arts, which are, the artists that are responding to space and all the fascinating work that they do and what we can learn from seeing their perspective of space.
I love that you combine so many different perspectives and have so many different collaborations with a bunch of different people with ultimately the goal of getting people excited about space. It's something that we do here on TMRO all the time. That's why we're here. And I think one way that's come through with you is that you've collaborated with a lot of people for your latest theatre show that debuted at the Smock Alley Theatre in Dublin this week, A Diary of a Martian Beekeeper. Can you tell me a little bit about where the inspiration for A Diary of a Martian Beekeeper came from?
Conversations. I believe everything comes from talking to people. Everything, all the work that I make, my own personal artwork, is always about. It always starts with conversations with people. And I was interviewing some astronauts in 2015, and I found it really interesting that rarely do we hear the kind of the human side of space exploration. A lot of the time, people find out about, what's it like to eat, or, what's it like to go to the loo, or what's it like to sleep. But like, what's it like on the down days, and trying to find out from them what that feels like as an everyday kind of experience. And they kind of inspired me to think about all the different people that contribute to getting them into space, and the hundreds and thousands of people that it takes for all space missions. And I became very interested in trying to tell the story of the unsung hero, all of those thousands of people. And I approached the European Space Agency, who I'd worked with before on my previous show to space, specifically people working in the Astronaut Centre. And Jules Grandsire, who's head of communications there at the time, gave me access, and Aidan Cowley, a researcher there, organised interviews for me to speak to different people working in different aspects at the Astronaut Centre, whether they're involved in future mission planning or astronaut training, or preparing meals for astronauts, as well as all the other scientists that I'd already interviewed at the European Space Agency's Research and Technology Centre. And what I kind of observed was that all of them are really passionate about space and really believe in future human space exploration, and investing in our understanding of ourselves in terms of our place in space. And I kind of realized that I really wanted to tell that story. And so to take it from a really small level, be one of those thousands of people that contribute a tiny part to this much bigger puzzle of space exploration and understanding how we would survive if we were to live, as colonies on the moon or on Mars. So I set the show in the future as if I'm one of those scientists on Mars, and I'm part of kind of a team that are going ahead before we have a colony of future Martians coming. And I'm conducting research in testing the feasibility of bringing bees to Mars to pollinate plants. And that I did that because it allowed me make a story that was very human and very accessible, because It was about the scientist who was really excited about getting her project happening and getting her science and her experiments working, which everybody can kind of understand. But also the distance between her and her family. And she experiences sort of a personal struggle that something happens in her family, and she's isolated millions of kilometers away from her family. And she has a struggle that every human being understands. You know, everybody understands crises in families and how difficult it is. And in those situations that those hundreds and thousands of people that work in space exploration park their own personal circumstances for the better good of the project and for humanity in general. And so that's the premise of the show. And I hope that I honour the many thousands of people that play tiny parts that feed into a much bigger issue that gets us to where we want to get to in space exploration.
What's the reception been like so far? I think you've had 4 or 5 shows this week.
Yeah.
What's it been like?
It's been brilliant. We got a fabulous review from a theatre critic yesterday in the Irish Times, which is kind of like the leading kind of paper here in Ireland that would review theatre shows. So it stood on its own as a theatre show, and it genuinely managed to kind of merge those two areas, you know, where science and arts kind of converge, which is kind of the world I live in. And I attract a very unique audience that are people that are interested in science, but then people that are just members of the general public that would know me from television and radio, and they kind of trust that I'm this kind of everyday average human being who's having this experience about, you know, her own personal project and, you know, performance art piece about trying to get to space. So they kind of trust that I will give them a kind of a very human outlook on it. And so that audience came, and the response has been really good, and all of them finally understand what it's like for somebody working in the space industry. Like, these are non-kind of science people, that it's just like every other kind of job, that you have struggles, and that it is actually about rigor and about a lot of repetition, but it's always ultimately to feed into a much bigger goal. So they all understand that, and they all connected with that, and they all connected with the human aspect of, you know, just being in a family and the struggles that can sometimes happen in that situation, and understanding the importance of always trying to get the job done. And then through that lens, we can teach them a little bit about space exploration, what's happening at the moment. And also I taught them a lot about beekeeping too, which I also learned last year. So I think it was, of the 3 shows that I've made so far where I'm combining kind of science with and telling it through a human story, I feel that it's been the most successful, and the reception has been brilliant. So it's great.
What was the hardest challenge in terms of the development of Diary of a Martian Beekeeper as opposed to your previous theatre show, To Space? What was harder this time around?
Well, the previous show, To Space, was about my own personal dream to go to space, and where it came from, and why I didn't do anything about it, and what I'm trying to do about it. So it was more of a very much a biographical piece. This was a genuine piece of fiction. It was sort of like I would call it kind of meta theatre, because it actually mirrors my life a lot, but it's set in the future. So I would have taken a lot of elements of my life in terms of mirroring my own family and my journey so far, and, you know, the fact that I've actually learned beekeeping. And the most difficult part of it was, I guess, trying to find that way of merging fiction with fact. That I have in between each of the scenes, I have videos of different interviews from scientists and engineers working at the astronaut center, and also excerpts of interviews from some of the astronauts that I interviewed. And how do you merge those two together? Because I'm not just talking about my life now. I'm trying to serve a story that reflects hundreds and thousands of scientists who have rigor and repetition in their life every day, and their tiny little contribution to a much bigger part of the puzzle is very important to them. So I wanted to honour that. So trying to find the right blend of the story versus the actual data that I had and the actual interviews that I had was difficult. And then and also kind of tapping into the personal side of it, like, my parents are still alive and something happens during the show. And so it was difficult to kind of go, right, to serve the story, I know I kind of have to up the drama. And yeah, that was tough. And it was like trying to figure out how much of myself do I share in order to serve the story, and how much fiction can also kind of get that flow in the story happening. But I think we got there. And also it was trying to find the right device to get people to think about, the dignity of being one part of a much bigger picture. And when I was learning beekeeping, and it was totally coincidental that I was learning beekeeping with my father, because Dad is 79, and you never know, like, how much more we have them. So it was very important for me to learn beekeeping before it became too late. So I was just learning beekeeping at the same time that I was interviewing all these great scientists and people working at the Astronaut Centre. And I started kind of seeing all these parallels between space, the whole space community and bees, and the fact that a colony of bees, they all work together, and there's kind of no one really in charge. They all it's a total democracy. And I was kind of going, bees are kind of happy just having one little job that becomes part of a bigger whole. And I went, that's kind of the way human space exploration is, really, and we give a lot of attention to the astronaut, but the astronaut wouldn't get up there without the contribution of all of those thousands of people contributing their tiny piece to the much bigger puzzle. And in the same way, in beekeeping, a lot of people think a hive is all about the queen, and the queen has a very important role, but she cannot exist without the community of bees. And actually the bees, they're the ones that make all the big decisions. So trying to figure all that out was really difficult. And then once I saw that parallel, I went, I think this is a good device. Let's try it and let's see. And then also then kind of knowing how much of my own personal self to share in the story. So yeah, it was many layers.
Now that you're a bee expert in, bees on Mars and bees on space, in space, I actually have a question from our chat room that's slightly related to this. Vogon wants to know if you know whether bees fly upside down in zero gravity or on Mars. I mean, from your experience with this show, what would you say happens to a bee in that kind of environment?
That's a really good question. Well, that's really interesting, because I actually don't know. That's really good, because they probably do have some sort of proprioception the same way we do, so we have our inner ear to tell us, the X, Y, and Z of what way is up. And of course that gets confused once we're in microgravity. So I don't know. I mean, it's also hard to know, when we're on Mars, what impact, like gravity, the existence of gravity being 1/3 that of Earth, would that be enough for our own inner ear to understand where we are in, what way is up? And I guess whatever would happen to us would probably happen to bees as well. But that's a great question. And all the more reason to send bees to Mars, and
Definitely.
for me to go and do it.
We should. I'm totally down for sending you to Mars with a truckload of bees with you.
Yeah.
But I want to come back to your thoughts about how much of the personal story to put in to this show, because it is a mix between fact and fiction. But you're not just anyone making a show about, being an astronaut on Mars. You actually have experience as an analog astronaut yourself. So how much of your experience through your analog missions was put into the show?
Well, it wasn't supposed, like, when I started the project, I kind of didn't know what I was going to use as the device. But actually, the analog mission, I went to the Mars Society's Mars Desert Research Station in Utah last winter, and I was with Crew 173. There was 5 of us in total, and it's really interesting because that became the backdrop for the story. And so I was part of Crew 173, and 2 of my crewmates, my actual crewmates, Michaela Musilova and Richard Blake, I gave them lines in the show, which they recorded and they play back to me during the show. So I was completely inspired by it. And it really helped me get an idea of what that sense of isolation is, and really set the tone and helped me understand how I can be that solitary scientist that's part of a crew, isolated on Mars, millions of kilometers away from family and friends, and understanding, the ration food, energy, water available, and how that keeping people informed is vital, with your daily reports, and also that you have to put the needs of your crew first before yourself in order to really be a very good operating crew, which again reflects back to the bees and the colonies,
Wow, that's such
I was very inspired by that experience.
It's an incredible experience. I was wondering also about if there are scientists that's watching the show right now and they want to take away kind of how they can take their experience with science or with space and use that to tell more human stories. Do you have any kind of one tip or one piece of advice that you could give to those people watching and how they can kind of humanize their work more and help to inspire more people with it?
So the one thing we all have in common is that we're people. So every single person understands what it is to be a person, okay? So if you can share more of yourself in your science, you can attract more non-scientists to it. So sharing your failures, sharing your flaws, sharing the things that went wrong, sharing your excitement of when it goes right, explaining what it's like to for you, why you do what you do, why it's a passion of yours. All of that gives non-scientists access to the way you think, and if they can understand why you're passionate about something, they'll get into it too. And I learned that a long time ago when I was sort of a full-time actor and doing improvisation. And I teach scientists now how to do that, how to communicate their science by just being, just being people first. And then everybody understands what it's like to be a person, and everybody understands what it's like to be curious. And sometimes if the science is very kind of, if it feels like very specific or very dense or sort of beyond them, you can bring them in by kind of explaining why it matters to you and why you love it so much. Everybody understands that.
That's a wonderful piece of advice. Thank you, Niamh. I have another question from the chat room here. So this one comes from Jared Head, and they ask, what do you say to folks in STEM fields who often criticize arts and humanities education as unnecessary and wasteful?
It's like, I don't know how to even answer that. It's kind of like saying, let's drop half of the alphabet. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, it's creativity, and creativity manifests itself in lots of different ways. Science is as creative as art is. So, and artists have every right to take science and technology and be inspired by it as much as they are inspired by nature or by the sea, or, you know what I mean? Like, the sea is part of nature, and you can describe it artistically or you can describe it scientifically. The two things are perfectly capable to exist in the same way. And it's okay for scientists to love what they do. That's okay. And I don't think art will ever infringe on that or threaten that in any way. But artists have the right to look at that science and decide for themselves what it means to them personally, as well as being able to show people another way of seeing it. And I think if scientists, people working in STEM subjects are wise, they should keep an eye out for how artists interpret what they're saying, because it could give them another way in and could help them find a whole other level of innovation or eureka moments in what they're doing. It's okay. It's not a threat in any shape or form. It's actually necessary to be able to see what you do from lots of different viewpoints. And the arts is one way of seeing what you do differently and from the more general public point of view. Because we're people. We're not just minds and brains. We're people first. Everybody understands what it is to be human. So
I love your perspective.
So even though you're a scientist and you love what you do, you're also a person.
That's fantastic. That's a wonderful, wonderful way to kind of answer that question. And I'm definitely going to take a leaf out of your book next time someone asks me why we're putting the A in STEM. And that just is such a great way of explaining it that makes it more human and more relatable. Our chat room is loving how you kind of see the connections between all those different perspectives as well. And with that, we have CFIT in the chat room who actually wants to know if they can get a book recommendation for you, from you. Not necessarily your favorite book, but just something interesting related to space. So I'm guessing something that tells quite a bit of a human story, but is space related as well.
Wow, gosh, that's a good question. It's completely taken me off the... oh my gosh. So they want to know of a book that
you would recommend.
What kind of book are they looking for, Lisa? Any book about space?
Yeah,
or?
Just something interesting related to space.
I think Moondust is a good one. I love biography, you see, so I would always try to find stories about interesting people. So I recently read a book about the 50 female astronauts. I found that really interesting, and how society has really changed in the last 50 years in terms of being able to accept, women in space, and how far it's come. I found that really interesting. I absolutely loved Neil deGrasse Tyson's book about astrophysics for people in a hurry, and it's written in a way which is quite amazing. It's written in a way for people who don't have that background in astrophysics, and he's able to kind of tell us all about dark energy and all the mysteries that still evade some physicists, but he kind of leaves it open for you to kind of think about them for yourselves, and kind of open your imagination. I read that recently. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, they'd be kind of my two recommendations. I love that book because it's so thick with mysteries of our understanding of the universe, but explained in such an everyday way, with fabulous analogies that really fire your imagination. Every chapter kind of leaves you pondering, do you have the answer in it yourself? Which we probably don't, but I love the fact that he can kind of make that available to the general public to think that maybe we can actually unravel those mysteries ourselves. Awesome. I'd highly recommend that book.
Speaking of other interesting people, I have another question here from Sarge Enzyme in the chat room, who asks, would you consider putting a car in space as art?
Okay, so I think the difference between art and just putting a car in space is an artist usually has a reason behind something. So they want you to see something differently, or they want to provoke a response, or they want you to question something. So you can just put a bunch of flowers in space, or you could just put a book in space, or you could just put a car in space. And if there's an intention behind it, it's artistic. So I guess that would be up to Elon. So my understanding of why Elon did it was that rather than it just being a block of concrete, which is usually the test payload, he wanted to put a car in space. So in a way, it is what I like about it. It does, when you see it, it really does provoke a response in you, and it makes you kind of go, what do I think about that? And you're trying to kind of shift your perception of where a car belongs, and the fact that it's not kind of on the streets and it's now in space and it's making its way to Mars. It kind of starts kind of clicking away lots of questions in your head. But I guess it's a very open-ended question. And the kind of art I really like is the art that has lots of different layers to it and makes you question things about yourself, and also try to figure out what the artist is asking you to what the artist is asking you to think about as well. And it should provoke a response, positive or negative, for you, and it should also help you see something differently. So I would say, in this instance, to me, that car provokes a lot of thoughts for me and really helps me kind of change my perception of where we're going. So I feel there is an artistic response in that. Wonderful.
So what's next for you, Niamh? After you've premiered your new show, what are you up to now?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm off to Japan on Wednesday. I'm going to the conference for communicating astronomy to the public to talk about that theatre show. We've got the Space Studies program coming up in the Netherlands. I have some more public events coming up later in the year. So not only do I make theatre, but I also make very accessible kind of events for the general public, as well as all my radio stuff. And I continue in my pursuit as a live performance artist in genuinely trying to get to space and getting people to come along with me. So I've started my very initial research into the next project, which is going to be a much bigger project, to hopefully get the whole world behind me in allowing me see the Earth from a distance, in order to get us all start to see our own planet differently, and from a more personal perspective, that we start to take more responsibility of taking better care of it. So there's a lot going on.
That's fantastic. You sound
And
super
the book
busy
as well.
but
Yeah.
super exciting to see all the new things that you're going to be doing. Where can people go to find out more about you and all this amazing stuff that you do?
I have my website, so it's niamhshaw.ie. So Niamh is spelled funny. I'm just going to say it now. So it's an Irish name. So it's spelled N-I-A, M for mother, H for hotel, Shaw, SHAW.IE. There you go.
All right, before we wrap up today, Niamh, we have 4 general questions that we kind of ask all of our guests, just really casual, really fun.
Oh, okay.
There's no right or
Yeah.
wrong answers, just go with what your heart says. So the first one of that is, what is your favorite space mission, past, present, or future?
Oh, I mean, it has to be the moon landings. There's just, it happened at a time in my life. I was very young, but my dad was working in General Electric, and because it was an American company, it felt like we were part of the mission. I don't know why. So for me, there's something very magical about it, and it really shifted our perception of ourselves as human beings, seeing that footprint on the moon. And then future, I'm very excited to see what Elon Musk and SpaceX do in their planned interplanetary missions. I found that the recent SpaceX mission, the one that happened last month, I'm still processing that, and I think that that's going to be a very special mission. That seeing those 2 Falcons landing at the same time really did have a profound effect on me, and I still can't articulate it. So that's percolating.
I feel exactly the same way. It has not sunk in yet. That was just mind blowing.
I can't. I felt like I was watching that was a shapeshifter for me.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so if that's what he did, I'm very excited to see what he's going to do about getting to Mars.
Wonderful. Human or robot exploration of the cosmos?
I think human, because humans understand when we put ourselves in the lens of something, it has a very different effect than a robot. So it was because we saw a man on the moon that shifted our perception of ourselves. So, I mean, robots will be safer, but I think in terms of us getting a value about being a better species and taking better care of our planet, seeing a human being in a place that we haven't really seen them before can really shift our perception of our relationship with our planet. So I would always say human all the way.
Wonderful. And where do you think that we should go next?
Well, we're going to the moon. I mean, you saw there, even one of your reporters there, Jan Woner, is very much behind having, a lunar village, or a moon village as he called it. So I think that's definitely going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. And then obviously Mars.
Cool. And this is my favorite question. Why space?
Why space? Because for as long as we have existed, we have looked to the stars for answers. We have every civilization. The Chinese were the first to map the stars. The Egyptians worshipped the sun. It goes all the way back. We have constantly shifted our perception of ourselves and our existence when we looked up. If you go back, we were heliocentric. We believed that everything orbited around Earth, and then we realized, no, we orbit the sun. And then we realized, oh, we're one of, other planets. Oh, that's right, we're in a galaxy. Oh, there's other galaxies. We've always looked to space for answers about who we are and why are we here. So space provides all those answers, and it makes us realize how incredibly small we are. And that's very good for us to consider our own existence and the value of our life, and that we only live once, and we should live the life that we were destined to have. That's why space.
That is an incredibly inspiring, wonderful answer, Niamh. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for taking time out of your St. Patrick's Day to join us on the show today. We really appreciate you coming on here.
Okay.
So we are
All
going
right.
to take...
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, comments from last week's show. There's more tomorrow coming right up.
It both draws us together and tears us apart, brings discoveries to cure us and threaten us. It is neither good nor evil. It is what we decide to make of it. There is so much more to learn, and we are curious. Together, let's explore the science of tomorrow.
Please hold while we reset. We lost Niamh already, so that's done. Cool.
All right.
Was that seltzer?
Perrier.
Para.
I'm single-handedly sustaining Perrier as a company.
Me too, look. Oh, no, it's Pellegrino, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I should probably have my
I mean, it's
computer.
good stuff anyhow, so.
Thank you. Thank you. You're adorable.
So fancy.
Thank you.
I don't think we can...
Jared, get closer to Jade.
Gotcha.
Where you're at. Lisa, get closer to Jade.
Yay.
About there?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, whoa, that was a big shift. Whoa.
You're a silly cat.
There we go.
Wait, can we still see the cord? Ben's going to hate that.
There we go. Can't see it anymore.
Ow, I
Hi,
pulled
Dwight.
it back
Dwight's in the chat room. Hi,
Oh,
Dwight.
hey, Dwight.
White shirt.
Okay, scroll
Oh,
down.
Dwight Stephen Boynicki.
Oh, hi.
Jade, can you hold your hand
An
above-
accelerometer sensor.
on the other side of you? At your shoulder depth, but like between you and Lisa.
Here?
Like here?
Thank you.
On St. Patty's Day.
All right. We good?
And then Jared, you're opening?
Yes, I am, sir.
I feel like I need to be here more, but I can't because these chairs are not good.
All right, while he opens, Jade, I need you to lean out. You need to lean towards Lisa.
Like
Oh,
towards
like-
Lisa.
I can
Yeah,
see
that's
your
good.
shoulders.
You're not in it.
Oh, because of
There
him.
you go.
Oh, okay. Oh, I get it. Oh.
All right, let's do it.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I've never been on camera before.
The magic of television. So, once they go to the supporter, the citizen slide, you can lean back over. But
No,
if you also
I'm just
are
gonna stay here
just
the
like
whole
if you
time.
want to lean a little bit, you can do that. That's fine too. So,
Lean with it.
Look over
lean
it.
with it, rock with it.
Okay, I need a mic check. Jade, you're on guest, yeah? Your mic is not on.
They don't need to hear me
There
anyways.
we go.
There we go. And Lisa?
Check, check, check. Checkity check, check. Checkity check.
And Jared.
Hi, here I am.
So,
And welcome back, everyone. Now, before we get to your comments from last week's show, we want to thank our citizens of tomorrow. We've got our Escape Velocity citizens. These folks give us $10 or more per episode on Patreon, or $30 a month or more on Maker Support. And then we've got our Orbital citizens who give us $5 or more on Patreon, or $15 or more per month on Maker Support. And then, of course, we've got our suborbital citizens as well. These folks give us $2.50 or more per episode on Patreon, and $5 or more per month on Maker Support. If you would like to see all of the cool stuff that you get with supporting us here tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO or makersupport.com/TMRO, and you can help crowdfund the shows of tomorrow and help make all of this amazing stuff happen. So, yeah, that's
really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we really do.
Every little Maker bit. Supporter peoples.
Yeah, every little bit helps. As Chris Radcliffe, our wonderful friend, was saying in the chat room today, tomorrow it's worth it. So, all right. So, last week's show, we had on Dwight Stephen Boniecki for the Searching for Skylab documentary, which you can go back to that episode, episode 11.10, and check out the Kickstarter that they have for that to help them out with that. They got a little bit of a boost this past week, but we need to give them a little bit more of a boost because they have some very cool stuff. And we're going to go ahead and start with your comments coming in straight from Reddit with Bananas on Mars, which might have to do with bees on Mars at some point from today's interview. But nice interview, but it seems the audio dropped out whenever Dwight got too vivid. Is it a possibility to have your interview guests record audio locally in addition to using Skype, or else that would give a fallback? As last time, Dwight had the best video of your interview guest so far, but as Ben says, audio is 80% of a video.
Well, Ben's not here, but Ben does say audio is 80%. Oh, no, wait.
Yes,
video is 80% audio, and that's mostly true. We're working that issue. We have a new Wi-Fi system now, so hopefully that is going to mitigate any of the issues that we had.
Yes.
But yeah, we're working on it, and thank you for your feedback. We always try to make the show better, so that's one way we're improving.
Even though this is more of a question for Ben, it would be kind of not unfair, but it would just be too much to ask guests to do that sort of thing of recording their own audio locally and all that sort of thing. So.
Yeah. And we also don't know the quality of what the kind of audio that the guest is going to be able to record for us and things. And also that's a data transfer that would have to happen in order for us to get those episodes to you out on time. And we have a very well established workflow that we like that allows us to get these episodes on demand to you as fast as possible. So we don't particularly want to inhibit that because everybody seems to enjoy that. But we are always open to hearing from our citizens and viewers and other people alike as to how we can improve the show, because we take your criticisms to heart and really think deeply about them and change things when something isn't working. So just like how we did with changing out the Wi-Fi and with that this week. So yeah, good stuff. And thank you for being very blunt with us about things that we need to change as well. We have no problem with being told what we need to do as long as it's in a constructive manner. So, and that's pretty good. All right. Go to YouTube real quick. A comment from Arturus P, which is about Arianespace. And they're asking, is Arianespace private, or does it belong to ESA, the European Space Agency? Because as a EU, European Union citizen, I would expect them to use EU-made rockets, not funding the somewhat unfriendly Russian military complex. Sort of, so, Space Mike, I'm going to throw that one to you since you're our rocket expert. Is Arianespace, does it belong to the European Space Agency?
It does not. They are technically I think they're a public company because I think that there are stocks that exist for them. But they're kind of like the same sort of setup as like Lockheed Martin and Boeing with United Launch Alliance. United Launch Alliance, even though they build rockets that NASA uses and the American military uses, the American military and NASA do not own those rockets. Lockheed Martin and Boeing do. So the rockets that are built in Europe that are under the Arianespace logo are owned by that company. They are a company. And the whole thing with the Soyuz rockets, even though I completely understand your feelings of nationality there. That was set up through the company International Launch Services, which markets the Proton and now Soyuz internationally. So that was a deal that they set up, and there was some modifications that were made to that so that they could launch from French Guiana and all of that. But I think that it's kind of cool, and even though I might not have like a I personally feel like I'm a citizen of the world, and seeing the Russian rockets, like this was an argument that we had a couple of years ago. Not an argument, but whether or not to count those launches from French Guiana of the Soyuz as a Russian launch or a European launch. And eventually we decided to call them Russian launches because they're still manufactured in Russia and Russian engineers work on it. But I mean, technically, at least part of Russia is in Europe, so I mean that could still count as a European launch. So. Yeah. I don't know. I understand your feelings, though, but the short answer is Ariane Space is a company, and they own the Ariane rockets and the Vega rockets.
Yeah, so. Just a consortium of all these companies coming together with Airbus being the biggest, I guess, stakeholder, if you will, with that, both Airbus in France and Germany with that there. So, yeah, very, very cool. There's your answer, Internet. Ask and you shall know from Space Mike and his mighty, mighty knowledge that he has of the rocket industry. So, which it's incredible how much you know, Space Mike. I'm always blown away. I personally think I know a lot about rockets, but then Space Mike comes in and blows me away with the stuff he knows. So, we got another comment from YouTube from a one-star citizen Speakeasy. Where is this? I want to go get some drinks. So it looks like this is a two-parter here, which is, wouldn't it be better to use remaining booster fuel to take it out to space if SpaceX knows it can't be landed? Then the space-stranded booster could eventually be repurposed in space. I think they're asking, could the first stage of a Falcon 9 that is being expended, can't they just burn all the fuel so that it will go to space? And then the second part of that question is, if a booster gets wasted, isn't SpaceX losing a lot of money due to pricing the flight based on reusability? And who covers this cost? SpaceX. Who wants to handle this one? Anybody want to handle it?
I can tackle at least the first part of that.
Yeah, okay. You go, Mike. You're the rocket specialist. I'm going to throw this one to Mike.
Yes, go for it.
Maybe. I mean, I guess they could potentially do that, although the first stage with the second stage and payload on top probably wouldn't reach all the way into orbit. But then they'd have to have all sorts of different hardware, like if they wanted to reuse it, would that be as like a fuel depot to go up and just, try to suck out whatever fuel is left in there, or try to fuel it up some more and have a fully loaded first stage in orbit? Like, there's a whole level of complexity that's added to that. And what SpaceX usually does is, when they know that they're going to have to expend a rocket, that's the payloads that they'll have the heaviest ones on. So, there's a certain weight class that Falcon 9s and now Falcon Heavy could launch in the expendable version. But they usually will do lighter payloads so that they have enough fuel left over to do all of this reusability. And even with the reusability, it's still around the same weight, a little bit more weight than just the Block 1 version of Falcon 9. So as far as the customer is concerned, it's still the same class of rocket. So instead of doing what you're suggesting of having a first stage in orbit, they just use up all of that extra fuel for a heavier payload that they know is going to be an expendable mission on. Although this is all brought up, I'm guessing, by the last mission, where even though they didn't use up all the fuel, they still did all of the regular landing operations they normally would have, but there wasn't a landing ship to go and recover it. But that all kind of has to do with their phasing out of the older versions of Falcon 9s in preparation for the Block 5 version that's going to be coming out. And I guess that kind of, to answer the second part of this question, yeah, it is SpaceX that's eating that cost. And, I mean, that's okay. I mean, they've...
I mean, every other company right now is also eating costs, like, for not reusing their rocket away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to kind of...
if
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Go for it.
Just the analogy was like if let's say the Atlas V was reusable, at least the first stage of it, and United Launch Alliance started charging a much lower price for it because it's reusable than what they normally do for the Atlas V, and then had an expendable Atlas V and still charged the reusability price. So that difference there, yes, I guess SpaceX is eating that cost. But I mean, even the expendable version of Falcon 9 was close to around the same price. We haven't actually seen the price go down a whole lot yet since reusability has been achieved, at least at the first stage. So
yeah, and I would say that the key to reusability is not just flying your first stage 2 to 3 times. You need to be able to fly that first stage 100 times in order for that cost to come down. So really, the true kind of reusability that has to occur in order for the cost to come down, I would argue, hasn't actually been demonstrated yet. The idea of reusing your first stage has been demonstrated, but the ability to demonstrate the reusability to bring down the cost has not been demonstrated yet. And I mean, I'm not trying to move the goalposts here. I'm just trying to be a little bit realistic about it, because I have no doubt that they're going to be able to do that. But it's just nitpicking from terms of engineering and things like that, is that when it's really with it there. So yeah, and also kind of to piggyback on what you said, Space Mike, about they still, even with, was it Hispasat, I think that there was the one that was expendable, right? Even with that, they still did the landing, and if you want as much data as you can, especially when this is, when you can do stuff that's very critical to your profiles of landing a vehicle on Mars, because when the first stage and second stage of the Falcon 9 separate, that's very similar to that that environment you have when you're actually landing on Mars. That's really important data, and you want that, because if you're going to enable a large-scale human colonization on Mars, you kind of got to figure out how to, make that happen. And as we have seen throughout the history of exploring Mars, getting there, not a little difficult. Landing there, though, very difficult. As I always like to put out, the only people that have actually landed anything on Mars that has successfully operated for the amount of time that it should is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory here in LA. So, but I'm hoping that we get to add more to that during the next launch window in 2020. So, should be very, very cool. All right. Heading back, yes, cross your finger, cross everything. So let's head back to YouTube and get some questions answered here from your comments, which this one is Yiglik Facetious, that's how I'm going to say it. How does the O3B system compare to the test sats that SpaceX launched? So I guess they're talking about the O3B communication sats that were launched on that Soyuz compared to the Starlink satellites that flew on that test mission out of Vandenberg there. So how do they compare? Is there a comparison going on there? Because I think one's
a test satellite and one's not a test satellite.
Yes,
that's the first difference.
First and most obvious. One's for testing, one's for actual use. So, if you will, with that. So, yeah. Is there any bigger differences between that?
I don't know because I haven't seen what the capabilities are of those test satellites. SpaceX has said what the eventual Starlinks are supposed to be capable of, but I haven't seen any information as to what these test satellites are capable of. So
I mean, we don't even know if they made contact with the Starlink satellites, right? They haven't put any press release out or anything that says like, yeah, cool, we made contact with Starlink A and Starlink B. So for all we know, maybe they
might not have even worked.
Right? Right? I feel like if it worked, they would have put a press release out. So,
yeah, I think they did mention that they were talking with the two satellites,
cool. All right.
And I think that was kind of mentioned in passing. It wasn't like, hey guys, we're talking to the satellite. It was more like, yeah, we're talking to them. So, but I haven't heard anything beyond that. So, yeah, not much news on that front. So, but we'll find out.
We'll keep our ears peeled.
Yes, we will. We'll
keep our eyes and ears peeled.
So, our eyes peeled and our ears open. Yes. So, our final comment comes off of YouTube as well from Francisco Pinto, which says, just want to say that it was much better with Athena speaking in a slower pace. Good job. Bear in mind that for a lot of the international viewers that English isn't the native language. It becomes difficult to understand when you talk like you're chatting in a bar. It is a great show, nevertheless. And yeah, that's something I always try to keep in mind when we're doing this show, is that we actually have a really big, I mean, I would say just about about half of our audience is our international viewers. We kind of have an almost 50-50 split between just here in the United States and a consortium of international viewers. With that there. So it's always interesting that we get to sort of talk to a group of people that we don't, or reach a group of people that we regularly don't get to experience in person, which is fantastic. That's one of my favorite things about spaceflight, which is that in space and space sciences, is that it brings everyone together in order to work under a umbrella for a common goal, and that's what's always fantastic to me, and I really like it. And I just saw Athena checked in the chat room, just saying that she loved the comment, and that she loves you guys. So there you go.
I know, for me at least. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
You first.
I was going to say, I know that when I get really excited, I really start to talk really, really fast. But I understand that, yeah, people that don't have English as their first language, it's not that they can't hear what we're saying or understand the words, but it's just that the space between the words are too
It just
small,
mushes all together.
So it all becomes one word.
One giant word that lasts for about 5 minutes.
Yeah. And here tomorrow, I think, we're really like wanting to be inclusive to everyone that enjoys or is interested in space, not just native English speakers. So being reminded to slow down is really, really helpful. And I'm like really glad that we had this comment, because now I'm focusing on slowing down my words so that, people can understand what I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, they need to hear what we're saying so that we can get people excited about space.
And like you said, like we get so excited, and then we get, we love you guys so much that it kind of is like, we're talking in a bar, like, oh God, he's got to show you something, I got to talk to you. But then it's like, wait, you're on camera, like, people are watching, you need to speak at a certain, cadence. And it's like, it's hard, it's easy to forget that when you get so excited, like you said. And if you're anything like me, like I end up speaking in different voices when I get really excited. So it's like, I could be like 5 different people, and it's a little disturbing. I haven't heard anybody make comments about that yet, so.
What were you going to say, Mike?
Yikes. I want to say, that both Athena and Jade have been doing a great job, because it's hard being a presenter like this. And even though I've been doing this for a couple of years now, I still trip myself up. I mean, even just today when I was doing that Lunar Gateway story, I tripped over something and then just struggled to recover and be able to speak concisely and clearly. And yes, it is hard sometimes when you are speaking passionately and get excited about something to calm down and to still speak clearly and at a normal level. So there's a lot of pressure, though. It's weird. Like, even though I'm doing this for a while, I still get like butterflies and get nervous before the shows and everything like that. So
yeah,
thank you.
And people say that I have a very heavy accent, like Californian accent, and I have no idea what you dudes are talking about. So I don't know. Everybody I talk to is just like, I could tell you're from California just by the way you talk, and I'm like, okay, all right. So I don't know what that means, but I'll take it as a compliment.
Do your Harry Carey impression.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit about space. We're going to talk about hot dogs in space. If you put them in a bun, will they stay in the bun? Do you need the mustard and ketchup there in order to keep it?
How
do you keep your Budweiser cold when you go to the moon? So, yeah, I guess that's one of those that we can do. But I also just want to say to everybody that, and our tomorrow viewers as well, which is that we've really been like kind of a revolving door of people for the past couple of for about the past month, because we're kind of throwing everybody in, giving everybody experience. That way we can all get a little bit better at certain things, and we're seeing how people do in certain areas. And okay, they're comfortable here, and maybe they're not comfortable here, and other things like that. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out to everybody here at Tomorrow, that you guys have been doing great. I also want to give a huge shout out to our Tomorrow viewers too, that you guys have been so receptive to this and really enjoying this, because it really helps us out, especially in the feedback and what we're understanding. If you ever have feedback, go ahead and put it there. We're going to listen to it, and we're gonna see if we go forward with it or not. That's ultimately up to us. But I mean, our viewership and our community of Tomorrow is an incredible group of people, because in most circles on YouTube is not really all that great. But our viewership is just absolutely fantastic. Probably one of the most civil I've seen on the internet.
1,000%.
Which is like, that is a testament to you, all of you who are amazing at doing things like that. And speaking of people who are amazing, let's throw it to our ground support citizens. These folks, these folks, I'm going to do something after this. Sorry, Detta. But our ground support citizens, they give us $1 or more per episode on Patreon, or $1 a month on makersupport.com. And of course, you get your name here, you get early access to After Dark, and you get exclusive access to our citizens only hangouts as well. And I love that we've got so many people in ground support that we have to have your name little itty bitty there, and we had to have 2 pages today to do that too. So get your permanent marker out and circle it on your screen with what you got right there. And we do want to let folks know that we do have a comment from Dwight, Dwight Stephen Boniecki, who's doing the Searching for Skylab thing, which is that they're going to be doing a live Kickstarter hangout tomorrow at 1800 UTC, which when this gets posted, I assume that will mean today. They're hopefully going to have Herb Baker, whose mom sewed, excuse me, they sewed the paracel that helped save Skylab. They're also going to have Janet Gibson, the daughter of Ed Gibson, Brian Fiore, the artist, and Sean Behrens, singer-songwriter of the 10 Cent Janes, who did the theme song for Searching the Skylab. So join us, and your help on Kickstarter will allow them to do that. So look for Searching for Skylab on Kickstarter, because we definitely want to fund that, because Skylab is sort of one of those, it is one of those ultimately important missions. We learn so much from it, and we don't talk about it enough. And it's so important to keep all of these stories preserved, like we talked about with Dwight on the show last week. Now,
speaking of things coming up,
I was about to say, you want to take it? Take it if you want it.
Well,
it's yours.
I was gonna mention,
have it.
I don't want it anymore.
I was going to mention our crowdfunding citizens, our supporters. We actually have a citizen hangout coming up on not tomorrow, but the Sunday after, the 25th of March at 1800 UTC, showtime again. So if you are a citizen, don't forget to come and tune into that. We've got some really cool behind-the-scenes stuff that we want to share with you. Ben's really excited for it. He's not here, so I have to be the excitement.
Yes. Or if you aren't a citizen, become a citizen between now and then.
And then you get to experience it.
Be able to experience it. So
join the party.
But what's happening next week, Jared?
I'll tell you what's happening next week. We have Dr. Chris McKay from the NASA Ames Research Center here in California talking about the search for life in our solar system and the wonders of Enceladus, which, Jade, your news, maybe Dr. Chris McKay will be talking about that.
That would be spectacular.
That would be amazing.
Fantastic.
So that's it for Orbit 11.11. Onesies. Yep, 11s is all around. So After Dark is up next, and if you're watching live, stay tuned. But if you're not watching live, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have too much fun with that.
Yeah, we do. A little too much for that.
Oh, that was a show.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool show.
We just did a show with no Higginbothams.
Yeah, we did. Just in case you didn't know.
We don't need them anymore.
Our parents have left the building.
They have.
And now we're just
Anarchy! Anarchy!
Don't tell Mom the babysitter's dead.
We were somehow able to behave.
Yeah, how did we manage that? I don't even know.
We had no technical issues, too, for what I could tell. That's a first. We did. We did.
Oh,
okay. It seems that whenever the Higginbothams aren't here, there's always technical issues. So, and I guess that tradition is occurring.
At least you're consistent with that.
Casper client crashed during the interview. That was fun.
Oh, dude. Sorry.
Yikes.
Vax, that's not far off.
Quite a compliment, Vax. Thanks.
What did that say?
So.
Oh, jeez.
Jeez.
Yeah, thanks, Vax. So, you're not wrong. So, from my perspective.
Mike, you have a pod to do, right?
So, yeah, we got some pods to do.
Yeah, we got some pods.
Oh, yeah, the Patreon site says that the Hangouts tomorrow, we delayed that to next week. I don't remember why, but we ended up delaying that. So,
Because Ben's a princess.
So if you're So and then some of us aren't going to be here for the hangout too. I know me and Dada aren't going to be here.
But Mike's going to be here, right?
But Mike will be here.
Oh, I mean, spoiler.
Surprise!
Yes.
So
Sorry.
we won't say
I'm so sorry.
how Mike is going to be here, but he will be here.
Yeah, in the TV.
So yeah.
That's where he's going to be.
Yeah, it's kind of how it goes on tomorrow. It's a lot like launching a rocket. You know, it moves to the right quite a bit. So.
Hi, Destructor.
Hi, Destructor. We're in After Dark.
Yeah, you missed the show.
Yeah,
Don't
you
worry.
did. Now you can watch After Dark. So, Helldesk, the location that all of us are in does observe daylight saving time. Mike, where
Sorry,
you're at,
Jade.
they don't believe in that, right?
I learned my lesson.
And not only do you not believe in that, you made it a law that nobody's allowed to believe in it.
No daylight savings.
Yeah. So we change our time here in California, but in Arizona, you guys have daylight saving all the time, if I recall correctly.
It's a lot of saving.
We just have regular time.
Okay. Because I prefer, when it comes to standard time and daylight saving time, I prefer daylight saving.
They just call it time where he lives.
And I talked a little bit about it on Twitter today, which is I like daylight saving time because I can sleep in an extra hour before the TMRO show.
Yeah.
So when it's standard time, we have to get up early on a Saturday, and I hate that. So now for the next 8 months, I'm going to be the happiest person when I walk into the studio. And then November's going to roll around, and I'm going to come through, and I'm just going to be like, good morning. So.
Where's my coffee?
All right. Mike, pub time.
All right.
You go ahead.
We
You
don't
go
have
that
to,
way.
we don't
I'll
have to
go home.
move because he's he's on the screen.
Oh.
We don't have to do
See,
anything.
again, it's like you're here. It's like you're here. Like you're really here.
Getting prepared for it and everything.
Oh,
Nope, just the screen. All right, let's see. Early March 13th. All right. We might have to do this intro part once or twice. We'll see. Hello everybody, Space Mike here, and today I wanted to talk about how Orbital ATK, a space division of Northrop Grumman, has had a new version of their life extension vehicle that they have recently announced on March 13th. And with it, it's going to add more flexibility to their customers who are interested in doing satellite servicing for their vehicles. This is your Space Pod for Tuesday, March 20th, 2018.
Can you do me a favor? Try it one more time, except don't say with this. Everybody has a stutter word, and your stutter word stutter phrase is with this. And you say it multiple times per show. Can you try it one more time without it?
Okay. Orbital ATK announced on March 13th that they are developing a new version of their satellite life extension vehicle that's going to add more flexibility to their customers who are interested in doing satellite reservicing. This is your Space Pod for March 20th, 2018.
That was clean. Nicely done. Good job.
All right. Let's throw up stuff and I'll just read from here. During a presentation at the Satellite 2018 conference, company executives announced plans to develop the Mission Robotic Vehicle and Mission Extension Pods, which would handle station keeping for geostationary satellites that are running out of fuel. The new systems are based on the Mission Extension Vehicle, or MEV, a satellite life extension vehicle that Orbital ATK currently offers. The MEV docks with a satellite and takes over maneuvering of that satellite, and including station keeping as well as relocating and disposal into graveyard orbits. Orbital ATK has been working on the program for several years and has done several physical tests of hardware and has even sold 2 of their MEV vehicles to Intelsat, the first of which is scheduled to launch later on this year. That MEV is going to dock with Intelsat-901 and is going to move it into another orbital slot. And the second MEV vehicle, planned for launch in early 2020, will dock with another as yet unnamed Intelsat satellite and take over its station keeping at its current location. However, under the new approach, a mission robotic vehicle based on the MEV design will carry 10 to 12 mission extension pods. The mission robotic vehicle would approach a customer's satellite and use a robotic arm to attach a pod to that satellite. The pod would then take over station keeping and provide up to 5 years of additional life. The mission robotic vehicle and mission extension pods are intended to provide new solutions to customers that don't need all of the full-fledged capabilities of the mission extension vehicle. The pods have a shorter lifetime than the MEV and do not provide attitude control capabilities. The new system, though, designed to be ready for service in 2021, largely incorporates existing technology, and the mission robotic vehicle itself is a version of the MEV, the mission extension vehicle, and the mission extension pods are actually based on Orbital ATK's ESPASat small satellite bus. One new technology that would be needed for this would be the robotic arm, and Orbital ATK is considering options from NASA and from Europe, although I'm not sure why not Canada. They seem to be the experts at robotic arms, but they have yet to make a decision on the specific technology. The robotic arm and pod technologies could open the door to do a lot more sophisticated satellite servicing in the future, and Wilson, who is the CEO of Space Logistics, which is a division that is marketing the whole satellite reservicing for Orbital ATK, he said that the pods could carry other technologies such as alternative communication payloads, which could be installed on host satellites, while the arm could use tools to perform basic repairs if there's any needed. So this could add a lot of new capabilities, and I think that this looks like a really cool idea and as a way to have one mission service multiple satellites instead of just one. So I think that this is a really cool thing, and I hope that they're able to progress forward with this. In any case, though, be sure to check out our last live show where we had Niamh Shaw on talking about the importance of arts and humanities in STEAM, in science, technology, education, and math. So be sure to check out that show, 11.11, that we had, and every live show that we have every Saturday at 1800 Coordinated Universal Time. Keep moving onwards and upwards, everybody, and until the next time I see you guys, don't forget, Ad Astra, to the stars.
Good job, Mike.
Nicely done.
Great.
One take.
One take, and you nailed that. You nailed it, kid.
Hashtag nailed it.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
So I was totally missing out on the whole cat experience because I was like, I don't know, not paying attention. Was there a cat at some point on
There was.
before the show?
There sure was.
There was.
I mean, there's a cat
Yeah,
now, but
space
was there
cat.
also a different cat?
Wait, are you guys seeing a cat right now?
Oh, is that what the
Or are you
crinkling
talking about
sound is?
Kitty over there?
Oh my goodness!
I don't know where that's.
what
I don't know
color
where
is
that's
it?
coming from. It's a tabby cat, so it's black and gray.
Oh,
And
so
white.
cute! I really want a cat.
Also, it's adorable.
Oh, what's its
So.
name?
Yeah, he's pretty adorable. Kitter cat.
Kitter cat.
Oh, it's amazing.
Do you ever look at him and be like, "Kidder done"? Because you should.
Yeah, he's cool. He just meows back at me. Kitter cat. Yeah, going the whole John Wayne route. He had a dog that's name was Dog. So.
All right.
Come on,
Contemporary.
Doug. Come on, Doug.
Dog.
Sup, dog?
No, I had a whole bunch of names that I wanted to call him, and none of them really stuck. And for some reason, he actually answers to that. So
It's a
if
dog.
a cat will answer to its name, that's
Kitter
its
cat.
name.
Oh.
Call your cat dog. Yeah.
Oh man.
You should have got a husky
Yeah, I'll have
and named
to-
it Tim Doug the Everyday Husky Knot.
Oh my God.
There it is.
Isn't that the greatest
Good
name?
Lord.
I think that's a great name.
We'll need help.
Everyday Husker Knot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
we
shout
had
out
fun.
to my friend Clinton who's watching right now.
What's
Love
up,
you.
Clinton?
Love you, Clinton. Clinton's actually who introduced me to the show. So if it wasn't for Clinton, I wouldn't be here right now. So
Well, then thank you, Clinton.
you're welcome, Internet.
Good going, Clinton. So,
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. It'd be funny to name your dog or cat Alexa, and then every time you call Alexa, hello.
Hello, Alexa. Yeah, Dwight, let's meet up. Let's have a party. We're going to have a party.
Oh, yeah. Let's meet up with Dwight. I mean, I don't know if I'll be in the country then. Oh, I will, but I won't be in LA. Sorry, guys. I cannot come to that party. Speaking of parties, y'all should get tickets to Yuri's night.
Yes!
Yep.
Yes.
If y'all haven't gotten...
I actually have not gotten my ticket yet. I should probably get on that.
Don't buy one yet. There's maybe stuff and things in the works for the people of tomorrow.
Wow.
Oh, I already bought mine, so I don't mind.
Yeah, me too. Help it.
I totally don't mind giving Yuri's Night money because they do an incredible thing, and especially their outreach to kids is totally worth it. So
yeah, I'm super keen for the kids event that day. I don't know who's going to be in the show because I want to go to this kids thing.
Aw, the one at Columbia?
Yep.
Aw, yeah, with Rick and you and
yeah. So
cool.
Well, listen, why don't you guys do Jade's space pod real quick? And if you want, I can look for my cat and show him off to you if you really want.
I mean, you can look for your cat, but we're going to skip your space pod for this week. So it's all good. We're only doing one. We're only doing one this week.
Oh, okay.
You are the lone space pod.
You are the space pod commander this week.
Martian. No, that's okay. Well, that's a show. We did it.
That is a show.
You are correct.
What's next week?
Without
we have
me Higginbothams.
Chris McKay, and then the week after is a double show week. It's a science. I need to advertise that.
Ooh.
The 24th?
No, the
31st.
The 31st is a science and space week.
Nice.
Yeah, because I totally remembered to tweet that out so that everyone knew when the next science show was going to be on. Whoops. My bad. Where'd the cat go?
Oh, wow, Dwight, you're going to be through Tucson July 4th through 8th? Oh, I know why. I bet you're interviewing, what's his name down there?
Yep.
Space Mike? Is that who you're interviewing?
Got his name. No, not me.
Mike.
No, not me.
Oh.
No, not me. No, there's one of the astronauts lives down there. I can't remember his name though.
Space Fest.
Oh yeah, Space Fest. I want to go to that, but I can't because it's then. Dang it. Ed Gibson. That's right.
Yeah, that's who it is.
So cool.
Steve Austin.
Yeah,
that was yesterday.
They get a lot of the old guys together.
316? Stone Cold?
Yeah.
Oh, from wrestling?
Yeah.
Could we have a wrestling themed show one day?
Tomorrow wrestling?
Oh, talk about
I don't know.
potential return of Undertaker.
Can you fit in like a ring here in the observation?
It could be a thumb wrestling ring. And we can just like
Let's
pan the camera a little closer and just get real into it. And
I'm going to be pissed if somebody breaks through the back wall with a chair.
Don't give away my special
Don't break
ending.
my set.
Just tape it back up. It's fine.
I don't know. Is that something, chat room? Would you like a show tomorrow wrestling? I mean, there's no Ben here to say no, so we're just going to plan the show right now.
Is half serious.
Luchadores in here for that, so.
I feel like that needs to be done on like a vomit comet or space station.
That would be amazing.
Oh my God, zero-G wrestling.
Zero-G wrestling.
That could be the best or most boring thing you've ever seen.
We should definitely have like a. We should have a Patreon level where we take requests, where we do zero-G flights once a month, and we take requests for what you want us to do on the zero-G flights. That should be a Patreon level.
That's going to be a level. That is going to be a crowd support level.
Yeah, that would actually be an interesting thing to watch because you have a 30-second match in which you have to get your opponent into a pin position and hold them for the next 30 seconds in under 2 Gs.
Fast as you can.
That would be hilarious.
All right, so citizens of tomorrow, comment below. Let us know if you want us to start the Tomorrow Wrestling Show.
I can't believe it's a thing!
Ben's
Oh my
gonna have
god!
no idea. He's gonna see all these comments and be like,
what are you
talking about wrestling for? Because he doesn't watch.
Stay on track.
Oh my
I think the
goodness.
funniest part about this is it sounds like Jade's going to be the one who's going to get the most into it. You're going to have like your own costume and all your own catchphrases and everything.
You already make costumes,
naturally.
don't you?
It's great.
Yeah, sometimes.
You already make some costumes and stuff.
Sometimes, but yeah, no. I've been a wrestling fan since I was like 10. Dating back to WWF.
Oh, that's.
And I'm not talking about the World Wildlife Foundation.
Willard Wood said I'd pay extra for that.
How much extra would you, though?
That's a joke.
Send us your credit card information. We'll buy the zero G plane fight.
Don't actually do that.
But if
No,
you did.
please do
But
that
if you
if you
did.
want us to.
To be fair,
So we will absolutely do it,
hang
so.
on. Tomorrow the Musical, yes.
I can't sing.
I want that. I want Tomorrow the Musical. It's going to be a thing. It's going to be like, I don't know, the 5th show that we spin up. It's going to be Tomorrow the Musical. I've got the plan.
All I'm saying is that Russell Crowe sings better than I do.
He's Australian. He's not New Zealander.
So.
We can make you sing. You can rap, Jared.
What?
Yes.
I can
Jared
rap.
can rap.
Somebody has
freestyle.
So somebody has to write it for me, but yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Okay, new
Absolutely.
crowdfunding goal.
Oh my gosh.
If we reach a certain level of funding, Jared's going to
Can we
rap
all
a
get
space
rap
bug.
names?
I think we should. So.
Oh, this is good. This
Mike,
is good stuff.
can you
I like this.
Can you sing it and or rap?
Both.
Yes, both.
He's like Drake. He basically is Drake.
Space Mike is the Drake of tomorrow.
I'll take it, I guess.
Tuba. If you turn into a polka song, tomorrow polka, be a rap polka. Oh. You know, I'd like to congratulate Weird Al, by the way. He recently made history. His recent song Hamilton Polka was on. It was like the first time a polka song had made it to this like list of most downloaded songs or something, and it was like kind of a big deal. And Weird Al's one of my heroes, so I was like really happy about that.
Nice.
So congrats, Al.
Nice.
All right, so this is happening. That's what I've got out of this
Are you
conversation.
taking notes? Like, there's a lot of good stuff. Like, I feel like
Space J.
we
We've
really.
got, 1, 2, 3, 4 singers so far? I don't know, just Jade.
I can dance. Not well, but I can dance. So.
I can move my eyebrows
So.
rhythmically. That means anything.
I mean, I'm just waiting for someone to like go through all the Tomorrow episodes and make a compilation of me dancing. So.
Somebody make that happen.
So, you know.
So.
Ready, internet? Go.
Internet, go. So.
Seriously, though,
Yeah.
this needs to be a thing.
Yeah.
I started a
Where did Jill go?
rocket history rap a long time
What?
ago.
Oh,
Never
okay.
finished it.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Epic rap battle of
See
science.
if I can. Do it. I can only remember like maybe like the first like 2 or 3 lines too.
Well, let's hear
It
them.
all started off in 1914 with my comrade Konstantin Tsiolkovsky coming up with a bunch of crazy rocket theories like putting the lava nozzle to get the maximum ISP.
Oh god. Oh god. Hold on.
What?
My heart stopped.
Happened. I need to tell. I peed.
I think. Did you?
Wow.
Did you hear that? I think that was the sound of the mic dropping so hard that the fabric of space and time.
It was
kind
both mics just dropped so hard right now.
Oh my goodness!
So.
Whoa!
It is getting hot in here.
You too? It's like every time I see on, it's getting a little.
Oh man,
Who knew you had it in you?
I can feel it through the screen.
Oh man!
Oh my goodness!
Wow!
Oh man. So, yeah, we got to finish that song, and that can be Jared's rap.
Wow!
I don't know, Mike. I feel like you do that pretty well.
You're a regular Dr. Dre. Oh man, I'm
not rapping anymore. Mike's doing it. So.
I quit the game.
We could do like Hamilton in the Heights kind of feel, but like with Tomorrow.
Well, somebody's got to like
Okay.
echo his every other word, right?
I'll be his hype.
Yeah,
hype
you
girl.
can be my hype man, dude. You can be my hype man.
Oh!
I'll make beats for Mike to rap over. I'll be like the Dilla of tomorrow, but like not as good. So
there we go.
Oh my
I
goodness!
love Jay Dilla too.
I love
yeah,
this is
same
actually
here.
becoming a
So
thing.
they had so much Jay Dilla at at Amoeba when I visited there. And there were some like really rare vinyls
You went there
too.
like the first time ever, which
and
is
I was
bonkers
like,
to me.
is the overdraft charge worth it?
Yes. Well, no.
And yeah, so
depends on the vinyl. Actually, throwing it back to Weird Al, and speaking of Amoeba, the first time I ever went, I found it was a compilation of Weird Al. It was a CD, so, you know, vintage. But it was actually signed by Weird Al.
Nice.
And guess how much it was? $5. I was like giggling as I was buying it. I was like, you guys are so dumb. This is a steal.
Suckers. Vintage, because I was cleaning my house yesterday or the day before, and I made a mixtape.
Woo! I hate it when people are like, hey, I made this mixtape, and they hand me like a Spotify playlist, and I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Slap that out of get that out of here.
Wait, what's a tape?
I don't have a tape player to play.
Oh.
It's like an 8-track.
Oh man.
She kids.
I'm kidding.
I know.
I'm like,
I did this the other day at Disney.
You're so good at like.
I like Vax's suggestion in the chat room. He restarted the lyrics to a modern Major General, all about rocket science. Nice. I am the very model of a modern rocket scientist.
Amazing.
That could be good. So there we go.
Tomorrow that would be amazing.
We're getting enough ideas here. We could actually like release like an album of tomorrow.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
Oh my goodness.
So
I've been learning ukulele, so I've been learning my favorite song, which is like "How Far I'll Go" by in Moana. But like I tried to change the words to make them spacey. So once I actually get decent, which might be a very long time away, I don't know, it could be a thing that I play.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cute.
Totally.
This is happening, guys. We're doing it.
Nice.
Wow. I'm really glad we got that on the table.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm glad that we aired that out in After Dark because now we're going to have to.
Yeah.
So.
Now we have to own up to it.
Yeah.
Bye, Dwight.
It's officially on. Bye, Dwight. We'll see you later.
Bye, Dwight.
So go to Dwight's Kickstarter. And support searching for Skylab. So.
Charles.
Why do I have a beer?
Hey, if Ben's not here, then Ben doesn't get to make decisions on what's happening with the show.
Correct.
Chill, Dad.
Calm down, Dad.
It's fine.
Why don't you support my musical aspirations, Dad?
Yeah, today's show was about art, so support art.
Exactly.
Dad. So.
It's the art.
It's not a phase, Dad. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. What is happening right now?
Actually, my dad did want me to be a musician for my life career, if you will.
That's so weird. Usually it's like the opposite. It's like, oh my God, my kid wants to play guitar for a living.
Yeah.
Dear goodness gracious.
Oh my God, he wants to build rockets. Oh, it's like that. It's like oh God, what is it? It's like that Monty Python sketch where the kid wants to. Oh God, what is it? The kid wants to get into drilling, and his parents want him to be an artist. You know, is that how it goes, or is it the other way? I can't remember, but it was funny. So. Yeah.
No, guys, I want to be a lawyer. No, you have to be an artist.
Yeah, basically, that's how it was. So, he said silicon carbide, something like that. So, it was amusing. So, should really go back and rewatch Monty Python. I haven't watched it in a long time. So,
I've never watched it.
Really? I suggest you start with. God,
I can't believe
so many
that.
good starting points.
At the moment, I've been watching Friends on Netflix and realizing
My
how.
apologies.
I mean, I still love
They're
it.
all terrible people.
But it's all
Okay, so how is it though? Because I've never seen it.
Never seen Friends?
No, but I have friends who are getting really into it and like rewatching it all. But then I hear other things like Mike just said, it's kind of terrible. It's kind of really bad.
They're all just really bad people.
Has, moved
it's not
on
terrible.
A lot
No. Don't get me wrong. It's still a funny show. I've just realized now as an adult that they're all terrible people.
I mean, because there's a lot of stuff from the 90s that's just like if you watch it now, or like for instance, I feel like one of the shows, right? Like, come on, Married with Children, gem, absolute gem. Come on.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's extremely well written.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about it. I may not laugh at everything, but it's actually really well written.
It is.
So,
It is.
yeah.
And like the character dynamics, like, are actually they go pretty deep.
Yeah.
But I just love Kelly Bundy. So.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. The coal miner's son. Coal miner's son was that, I think. So.
Mike, everyone in the chat room saying that your rap name should be Little Turbo Pump.
Little Turbo. Little TP.
Lil Turbo Pump.
Little T Pump. So.
Oh man, I don't know.
That means you won't be able to
T-Pump,
sell
there
your
we go.
records internationally because ITAR redacted.
That instead of the parental advisory at the bottom of the album, it should be a little ITAR redacted.
Redacted lyrics.
Amazing.
We should have a show. We should have a song called ITAR redacted, and it's just silence. So,
That would be amazing. We should do that.
Yeah.
Yo, I got my new song, Rocket Engine Plumbing, but it's only available in the United States. Sorry, everybody.
Dang! You dropped that fire like you just got endless amounts, man. I'll tell you right now. You came out of left field, man.
Amazing.
Oh man.
Oh, we need to take pictures today as well, guys. I think is that a thing that's happening?
Yes.
I think so. I dressed like a normal person today.
Oh, it's icy up at Mount Wilson. Wow, that is beautiful. Look at that view from Mount Wilson.
No J-Pod today.
I accidentally
amazing?
duplicated.
I am so
look at
sorry.
that
Look at that
Look at
beautiful
that big
view from
glorious
Mount
screen.
Wilson.
You should show the internet.
I'm retweeting it if anybody wants to look at my Twitter account for it. That is beautiful up at Mount Wilson. And I'm actually going to be doing my first backpacking trip there next week. So super excited for that.
Third Rock from the Sun was a very good show as well. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yes.
Someone who pointed that out. Saki.
The structure, the video.
Gotta love Fresh Prince.
The video to ITAR redacted is just silent, high budget, well edited miming. Also, I love Fresh Prince. I just started watching it on
Yes! Okay, now Fresh Prince.
Oh, Fresh Prince is my
timeless.
childhood.
That, like,
Yes. Yes.
so good. And Boy Meets World when you get the chance.
I love that intro song. I have it on my
man.
Spotify playlist.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised.
So,
Can you know the words?
are we
Do you know the
gonna-
words?
Hang on. If we sing it, are we gonna like trigger copyright?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. We might.
In
do
West
this.
Anaheim, we're here and.
I mean, you're not lying. So.
Because I do know the words. I know the words, but I just don't want to like trigger copyright.
Can you, even if you're just like sing? I mean, are we that good that people will mistake it for the actual recording? Because that would be cool.
On YouTube,
The
absolutely.
people are worried
So-
about it. It's the bots we're worried about.
It's the
That's what we're
algorithm.
worried
The
about.
algorithm will catch us.
The almighty algorithm.
It's not that we are that good of a likeness. It's that we are using it unauthorized.
Oh,
Yes.
got it.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Even singing happy birthday to somebody is technically a
No,
copyright.
isn't that now public? That's now public
I
domain.
mean, it's
isn't it?
after dark, right? So even if it does get
No
a
rules.
strike
No,
on
because
it,
it will snatch the entire.
We're still posting this later.
It will snatch the entire current session.
Aha.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we start
The whole
singing and it
thing.
goes offline, then the internet knows what happens. It's fine. We'll just do it later.
But if
It's in next week's Space Pod. It's fine.
in a studio, just talking about
maybe.
space. It's all working out in my head. I'm sorry. Not as fantastic of a wordsmith as Mike, so pardon me. The disembodied voice.
I like this one from Daddy Spacer. Detta is the disembodied voice of reason.
Yeah.
Detta's like our conscience. So,
Mom and Dad left a teenager to watch over you kids.
yeah. So, but Detta is good.
Babysitter won't let us have any fun.
Detta is wise. So,
Dada is the all-powerful, wise, disembodied voice of tomorrow.
Should put that on a business card. It's pretty impressive.
The Duddas became the parents when the Higginbothams left.
So you're like the auntie and
The
uncle.
next one's down. the line,
To handle us
age-wise,
kids.
at least.
these childrens are out of control.
Don't make me put this in the show report.
Oh man,
Oh man. Oh jeez.
Ah, jeez.
Ah
that
jeez.
equals Zordon.
You know, I just started watching.
Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Aji, and oh man, what
Oh,
Aji?
geez.
What a
Oh,
great
geez.
show! All right, come on, Morty. We gotta. It's so good. I see why people were so obsessed with that show. It's fantastic.
So excited to try Szechuan sauce.
The fandom.
I haven't had it yet.
But the show is amazing. So.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so well
I don't know,
written.
Rick.
It's like both good parody of sci-fi, but it also like stands alone as good sci-fi itself.
It does.
So,
It does.
Yeah.
That's why I like it so much. So. That and Szechuan sauce is literally just
I haven't tried it yet.
teriyaki sauce, and then put like 1/2 kilogram of salt in there.
I'm so excited
and that's
to try
exactly
it,
what
and I haven't
tastes
tried
like.
it yet because I have to wait till Ginge gets here so that he can try it too.
It's awful.
Not fun.
It's awful. It is so terrible.
I'm gonna keep believing in it until I actually have it in my mouth.
Tiny food. You've got tiny food.
There's certain cartoon characters that I just can't watch no matter how good they sound or how good they are. I'm just looking at them like, oh,
What's up? What's he laughing about?
what?
What the heck is going on? What did I miss?
Nothing. That was hilarious.
Oh, God.
Smokey, you're always talking about food, and I think you're going to have. I think if you ever visit us, we're going to have like a tomorrow barbecue or something.
Tomorrow
with you.
buffet.
Well, tomorrow food is like this next show that we're gonna make. So.
Or like tomorrow eating competition. I would like to just go ahead and enter myself prematurely.
I love eating competitions.
Did you guys feel that?
The train?
No, I know there's a train going by right now, but just like 30 seconds ago, I kind of felt.
Was there an earthquake and I missed
little
it?
something.
That's my first earthquake.
Yeah, it's been shaking on and off with like.
Because I swear I know the train just went past, but like before that, I felt like a little sway.
Sorry, that was me. I had a pretty spicy breakfast.
Quick to the USGS come.
Seriously, we just had an earthquake. It's my first ever earthquake, and I'm so excited. I mean, also scared, but really excited.
Who's your voice that isn't Dutta? Are we allowed to know?
That's Kitty.
Is it a female that you're hearing? Because that would be Kitty. Who is that, Andy?
It was a disturbance in the force, yeah.
I can't answer Andy Law because I can't type in YouTube. So somebody answer Andy Law if that's who.
Yeah, they had a little earthquake out in Riverside just now.
And you felt that?
Well, I felt like a little sway, but I didn't. Yeah, it was an itty bitty. So.
Wait, there was an earthquake?
Yes,
yeah,
there was.
I missed it.
It was an itty bitty.
Aww.
So don't worry, if you hang around for 20 years, you got a 40% chance of.
I'm trying to work on that, Jared.
Okay.
I am trying.
All right, I guess I was the only one who. I will go tell the USGS that I felt that.
The building does shake.
It does.
Immediately before a train comes.
Interesting. So
it's the Kitty of tomorrow.
Look, it's Kitty.
I'm
So.
the other disembodied voice off screen that nobody ever sees. Hi, guys.
Yes.
Oh, I also want to do a really big shout out to, I've already forgotten their name, but Rob, quick, what's their name? Someone from YouTube, Rob someone. They gave us $100 in super
I saw
chat.
that.
Yeah.
Whoa, thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
And Rob's been doing that for a couple weeks now. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Rob Jones. We appreciate it. It's
Yeah.
doing some incredible stuff.
Thank you.
And that really helps enable us. So thanks. So
Thank you very much.
yeah, that was cool. So that was really cool.
Are we coming to an end?
Oh man.
Yeah, I think we're coming to an end. So
My funny juice is all depleted.
Yeah, I'm sugar crashing.
I'm hungry.
yeah, I'm hungry too.
All right, thanks so much for watching, everyone, and we'll catch you in the future because this is the show of tomorrow. Bye-bye.
See y'all.